Welcome to The Way In, a companion meditation series to the 12-week The Artist's Way program. We are currently on week 2, which is all about self-definition on the road to creative recovery. My name is Kristina Lopez, and I'm so glad that you are here joining me on this meditation practice today. This week invites us to think about self-definition, about who we are as creative individuals and on who gets to make that decision. Do you remember those early moments of how you defined yourself as a creative? Did it come from teachers? Did it come from family? Did it come from the culture around you in general? We have all these forces that are trying to tell us who we are, but self-definition is about coming up with that for ourselves. And this can be really difficult, especially living under capitalism, where things like profitability come into play when thinking about who we are as artists, or all these other intermingling ideas. Creative recovery asks us to take the definition back for ourselves and make that decision about who we want to be. So let's get into today's meditation. And as you see, my little cat Chi-Chi here is here to remind us there are distractions that are gonna arise when we're meditating, but that's precisely why we do this practice, to better train our mind to go where it is we want it to go, instead of those things that show up and occupy our brain waves like anxiety, stress, as the Artist's Way talks about self-doubt and negative self-talk. When we meditate, we are actively going against these forces that are holding back our creative process. So wherever you are, take a moment to settle into your posture today, consciously choosing how you are going to arrive into your meditation. I'm sitting here cross-legged on my meditation cushion, but maybe you are laying down, for instance. Maybe you're sitting in a chair. There's no right posture other than the posture that's gonna help you sit and breathe for around 10 minutes or so that this meditation will take. Maybe even doing a little stretch before starting. I always like to twist my torso and then raise my shoulders up before letting them fall gently and beginning to soften my gaze. Either closing your eyes fully all the way or finding a fixed spot in front of you where you can let your gaze rest. And today we'll begin by observing our breath, recognizing that there's nothing to change. Just noticing your breath arrive with your inhales and leave with your exhales. Simply breathing in and out, bringing your attention inward, noticing what it feels like to be you today. Not that ideal version of you that you want to see on your resume, but just you as a person sitting there breathing. There's an idea in this work of creative recovery that nurturing creativity means nurturing the core of ourselves. So for the next few breaths, let's just rest with that idea. Caring for yourself is not separate from the work of nurturing creativity. It is precisely that work. Notice what comes up for you when thinking about time as it relates to your creativity. But what if we approach time without judgment, just observation? There's a quiet truth here that we were reminded of this week, that it can become easier to create than it is to avoid creating. easier to write than it is to not write. Easier to paint than it is to resist painting. Avoidance takes energy, but attention to our craft actually gives it back. There's no wrong time to make the right decision when it comes to your practice. Let's visualize for a moment the act of practicing our creativity. Not finishing anything or getting ready to show it to anyone in particular, but just practicing. Visualize yourself in the simplicity of that act. Nurturing that sense of relief that comes with enjoying a process versus focusing on the outcome. Recognizing we don't need to be good at this. We don't need to know where it leads. We define consistency for ourselves. And we define who we are as creatives. Which emotions arise as you visualize yourself as someone who shows up for your creative practice? What does it feel like to be someone who pays attention to your creative calling and nurtures it? Our meditation practice reminds us that the reward for attention does not come from external sources. It leads to an internal awakening. Our attention and where we point our mind leads to our inner healing. Notice what happens in your body when you give something your attention. Try it out right now, noticing which parts of you might need some extra care and compassion in this moment. Maybe there's something physical that pops to mind, like, oh yeah, my knee wants a little love. Or maybe there's something emotional that's been lingering. If it feels right, offer yourself a simple affirmation. Maybe one you've already been practicing. If not, you could repeat the simple sentence. I am in constant change, and I get to define myself. As we begin to close today's practice, bring your awareness back to your breath. Recognizing the sensation of breathing. Noticing what it's like to breathe in the space you're in. Feeling the weight of your body connecting you with the earth beneath. And let's take one last big breath together, in through the nose, holding it a moment, and out through the mouth, pushing all that stale air out. When you're ready, begin to bring movement back to your body, maybe wiggling your arms or your feet, stretching out again. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. New meditations will be shared here weekly, but in the in-between, feel free to repeat this practice as many times as needed and subscribe to my channel to get that little notification when the next meditation is posted. See you next week.